Right, hello everybody. Getting a couple things just sorted out here before I get started. Just want to make sure this all worked out. Starting this up. Hope everyone's having a nice night. Ooh. This doesn't say that I'm live. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Get this keyboard out of the way. I don't wreck it. That. All right. I think this music is way too calm. I'm not going to get anything done with these kinds of tunes. So we're going to have to fix that for sure. Let's see, what are we feeling? I don't want it to be too much, but I think we'll probably just keep going with the chill. I think chill works out pretty good. Well, yeah, let's try it. Okay. So just gonna make sure this is all working. Sick. Okay. All right, so tonight is all about knife sharpening. So I got I was tasked by a friend to restore a knife, actually a pair of knives for them, and with some sentimental value, and I thought that was really sweet, and because of that, I was inclined to do a very good job because it was something that was important to them. So I went out and got this nice little sharpening jig. I got this thing. Got it all set up. I added a base to it. Let me move my mouse out of the way as well. Actually, give me 1 second. Added a base to it as well, and made a couple adjustments that I'll show you after a little bit. But yeah, so sorry, I'm a little distracted just for a moment. We're gonna get started here. Y'all gotta tell me if the music is too loud or too chill. That can be a thing. The other thing is that I'm really going to rely on you saying, oh God, this sound is awful, because it's going to be real grindy here for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to be grinding away at this, and it might be kind of an awful sound. So if you want to still watch, I'd maybe throw on some lo-fi hip-hop or something like that and turn down the volume of the grinding. You'll miss all of my commentary, but maybe that's okay too. So a couple things. So I am wearing this. I'm feeling safety first today. Very much safety first. I have this slice-proof glove. It works pretty good. You can tell by this hole, actually. Which I didn't get a cut from when I was using a mandolin cutter, cutting some vegetables, some cabbage for some sauerkraut actually, and it's kind of weird and discolored from slicing vegetables, but it'll still work for today. I also have my handy dandy first aid kit here with me, ready to go. Kind of a big nerd when it comes to the safety, but that's there's a lot of sharp stuff is going to be happening here, so I figured I would be more careful than not, because no one wants that, right? So let me give you a little tour as to what we're going to be doing today. So these are the two knives that a friend of mine asked me to restore for them. So it was a family member passed away, and they want to give these as a gift to another family member. And they asked before deer hunting season, and they wanted me to restore it. So, so this one here is a pretty standard, looks like a little bit older kind of hunting knife. I'll move this out of the way while I show these. So this is kind of a standard hunting knife. It seems pretty old. It's an Imperial. It's got a, maybe this is a, I think it might be plastic, but it's definitely made to look like horn handle. And you know, it's got a little bit of an edge to it. I might be cleaning it up. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to ask them whether or not they want me to really like scrub it up or not, or polish it or anything. The second one, this knife is actually a little scary to me. It's kind of a scary knife because it is largely a bayonet. So it's mostly a bayonet. So this is a unique thing with this knife and sharpening it is that this is actually just a, it's a single, I think it's referred to as like a single bevel knife, where it's completely flat on this side, and then it's filed down at an angle on this side only. So I'll only really be sharpening kind of like what a chisel is set up like. It's kind of a similar concept. And so I'm only going to be sharpening this side. And then this side, I have a plate of glass here with some sandpaper on it, some 2000 and 2500 grit sandpaper. And I'm just going to be making sure that this is nice and flat. I'm just going to be flattening this out on the painted glass to get it nice and sharp. However, these two knives are the ones that I need to do perfectly. So I'm not going to be doing them first because I just got this sharpening tool and I'm not going to be good at it. So we're starting on my worst knives that I have. Then we're going to go to my kitchen knives for cooking because I love cooking, cook quite a bit. And then from there we'll move to the actual knives that are the star of the show, as it were, the ones that we really want to make sure we do right. So let me give you a tour of this sharpening device here. Get it in the proper frame. This was, I just got this week, and I'm going to take the, where did that Allen wrench go? There it is. So, so this thing, gotta loosen this, take this knife out for now. This is why I have one of these hands to have this slice-proof glove. I'm actually gonna flip it the other way. I need this to be able to loosen this Allen key. Get this out. So all this basically is I'm going to tilt it up so this camera can see it, is that this is a way for this guide here, or this rod that has the file on it, to be able to go up and down like this at a consistent angle against the knife. So you can set this height, or the angle, pretty easily with these little hand knobs. We'll take this out, move this up. So that's 30 degrees. Here's a 20 degree grind. So now this is set to 20 degrees. So this is a much shallower sharpening for a knife. that you would do. So I'll probably be double checking a lot of those things. I have a protractor here, and it's not the most exact setup. I really should have a different kind of protractor, but you know, as long as it's consistent on the knife, you don't change degrees as you're sharpening a knife, then it's probably fine. So for a lot of these, they've never really been sharpened with a lot of precision. It's just been me with a stone guessing at what the right angle is. So we're going to be basically changing the angle on a lot of these anyway. So I'm going to set this up. So the guides online say that for a hunting knife, 30 to 25 degrees is about where you want to be. So you can see here, if the camera can pick it up without reflecting too much, we have 30 degrees here, 25 degrees, 20 degrees, and then I made a mark at 17 degrees, which is what is recommended for kitchen knives. So I'm going to start with a lot of these camping knives. 30 degrees. And this was a knife that I was given by a friend a while ago. It's kind of scary. It's not an expensive knife. It's a very cheap knife. And just to get used to this setup, I already filed it down to 180 grit to start the new edge. So I did that at 30 degrees. So I'm going to set this back up, make sure everything is nice and tight, and I'm going to start filing away. I'm going to do one more pass at 180 grit because I might have shifted the way this was set up very slightly by half a degree or something, and I'd rather shave it off and make sure it's all super consistent for this knife. So I haven't used this a lot. I've watched, you know, maybe a dozen YouTube videos on how to do it with this kind of sharpener. So I'm not an expert whatsoever, but I've been sharpening stuff a lot my whole life. So I think outside of just using this jig, I think this will be a-okay. Should work out pretty well. So cool thing about this jig is that you might have caught it earlier. Let me tighten this here. I have this other camera and it's like kind of hard to remember where it's pointing. So I'm gonna make sure that's tight. Over there. And so what's cool about this is that once I'm done sharpening this side, I can pull this, rotate it, and sharpen on this side. And it's like locked in to a really good angle that's gonna work out. So I'm gonna tighten this here. This is the key thing to tighten, and you wanna make sure that it doesn't wiggle at all. We're at the 30 degree mark. Make sure that that's exactly where I want it. And that sound is just terrible. And that's not even grinding, that's just I'm gonna put a little bit of oil probably on that. Because, oh, and for honing oil, I'm using just standard mineral oil. Just food grade mineral oil is one of the best ones you can use. That's not like, it is the best thing you can use. That's not like a quote unquote honing oil. So, well, this isn't going to be easiest to distribute, but we'll figure it out. So I'm just going to do, this is where I'm going to be embarrassed about pouring stuff and not do a good job. Maybe I can do it light enough. All right. So we're gonna get mineral oil in my hand here. I forgot to use oil when I was first doing this, which is not good for this knife, but that's okay because, as I said before, this is kind of a crap knife, so it doesn't really matter that much. I did as well with this project. I made this stand earlier today, and also added the gradation marks. So I'm quite pleased with how it handles now, as opposed to right out of the box. It was a little bit more difficult to use. So leave this here. Really don't want to spill a whole container of mineral oil. I use this stuff for my when I'm doing like waxed canvas and stuff. I have like a formula that I like to use for waxed canvas. So we're just going to kind of go and grind this. I'm not being super careful right now. I'm kind of just wanting to see if I'm hitting this at the right angle or if I subtly change the angle that I'm doing this at. So now that I've kind of got it flattened out, I think, so I'm going to keep going at that. I think I need to get my flashlight out so that I can see this properly. Yeah, it looks like it did very slightly change angle here, which is a bummer, but what do you do? I'm going to grind a little bit more. And just know that that's a lesson learned. All these angles are looking good. Ooh, I'm not doing this one well enough. Let's move this over. You can see the knife just a little bit more. There we go. We're actually going to even move this camera slightly and see how that looks. All right, that's way better. Okay. I just saw the knife shift a little bit, which means that I don't have my dang Allen wrench tight enough. And make sure that that stays nice and tight. That's good. See if that's too much oil, I don't know. I have no idea. Yep, dripping on my stuff. That's okay. So we're starting at 180 grit, and as we go on, we're just going to increase the grit amount on each of these scales that I'm using until we get to a very high grit. We're actually just going to go to 1500 today on these knives. Maybe the kitchen knives will do more. I'm not sure. See if we can see this, how this looks. I don't think we're going to get in very good. No, it's still just like a little too hard to really make it out. There are some really fine little hatch marks in there. Basically, as I drag the scale across it, it leaves some lines, some patterning in there. I'm going to use that patterning to observe where I've been through on the next scales and see how that works. Okay. So I'm actually going to close this. And let's swap out for the next scale. We're going to go from 180 to 400. There we go. Set that aside. Should have grabbed some paper towels. That would have been smart. Just to like wipe it clean of any grit. I probably should just go ahead and stand up and go get some, because it's going to be important to remove any of this filing material that's more than 400 grit. So basically any of the particles from the 180 grit could leave scratches if it gets into the 400 or after that. So it's going to be important for me to, I'm just oiling this whole stone here. It's going to be really important for me to not have any of that in there, so unless I can find, this is from another project. Cool. Paper towel might have been from a meal, I don't know. Because who buys napkins? What's this? Before I do that and work on that side, I'm gonna tighten this one more time because it's like the knife is kind of becoming loose as I do this. So far, that's kind of a shortcoming of this kit, is that the blade is not as tight as I'd like it to be. Nice. Okay, that's what we're here. Okay, so this is at 400 grit. Get that out. So I want to go this way. Kind of fun going up in grit like this. Because you can feel it as I go this way up towards where I haven't run the 400 grit. I can feel a little tug of resistance on it as it sands the more coarse part of the knife. Kind of nice to just like let me know that I've not gone over that part yet. Okay, that's actually it for that grit. On to the next one. Up to 800 here. I'm going to rotate it again, just to start on the consistent side. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I had this slice proof glove because I knew I was going to be adding oil to stuff. Maybe I'm using too much oil, but like slippery hands plus sharp knives is not a good combo. Not a good time to be butterfingersing. Do that. All right. Kleenex. I'm looking in changes in reflection. If there's any like angles that I mess up. When you get to this edge here, it's actually pretty difficult to keep it consistent just because of the way that it wants to like kind of curve around like this. So I haven't yet figured out how to make that not work poorly. We'll see. I always want to flip that the wrong way. There's plenty of oil on this side, which is good. The noises should get less bad as they go higher in grit, which is good. Be less of a jarring, like awful knife scraping sound, so it should get a little bit better as we go. I think that might actually just be it already. This is starting to get pretty sharp here. Really looking like a nice clean edge though. It's starting to look nice and polished. Scale out. Place both of the other ones. We're up to 1500 grit. Pretty fine grit. This is where we're going to stop actually. I didn't bring any leatherworking stuff down here to strap it. Strapping is kind of running some leather across it to get rid of any really small burrs. Dumped way too much oil on this one for sure. We're gonna just put some on these other scales here. Okay. I'm glad I put down. This is just some foam core that I had on hand. Glad I set this down. I did not ruin my tabletop here. Actually, no. I don't know how good of a wipe I gave this. I'm second guessing myself on the extra grit on here. Okay. Straight this back over. Let's get this on. Switch to more of the circular kind of pattern. That's where this fine stuff. Ooh. Scary. Don't want to do that. I think what happened here is that there's too much oil, and it got on the little grippy hands that are part of this thing, and it popped out on me. So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. I also don't remember which side I did. Dang it, anyhow. It's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna have to restart on this one, on that last scale. I don't remember which side was which. Fix it. I almost want to put like some even more like grippy rubber stuff on here. Doesn't want to sneak out. And I don't also, so I don't have to over tighten it. Alright, so let's get this going here. Mop up some of this oil that's down here. That was probably dumb because there's grit on there. Let's just get going. So this is the 1500 grit scale. Boy, this is just like chewing through this thing. There's like lots of like little bits of the scale coming off as I do this. This one must be pretty soft, pretty susceptible to getting damaged as I use it. You know. Add a little bit more oil to this. There is a little burr on the back side, but that's okay. That's kind of what we expect as we do this. So to get rid of this burr, I'm going to just We're gonna swap out. I'm just gonna do a few passes of this 2000 grit. I'm basically just gonna use this to knock the burr off. Is my goal. I'm not gonna do a whole pass. I'm just gonna very lightly. I'm gonna go back and forth a couple of times. Just trying to remove this burr. I have like 12 knives in front of me, but I'm already 40 minutes in on this one knife. So I'm just going to do one more knife, I think. One more of my, probably like a paring knife actually that I use a lot. And then I'm gonna do the first one, the sentimental one. I'm feeling pretty good about how this is working. Not really getting much of a burr there. I'm just using my fingernail to test that. I think we're in business here. I think this is as sharp as I want to make this one. Goodness, that's sharp. I've never gotten a knife sharp enough to shave hair. Let's see if we can do it with this one. Still not quite yet. That's still not quite up to standard for a lot of people. They can't cut hair. That's kind of like how a lot of people test him. They just see if they can shave a little spot. It makes me too anxious, probably. I'm probably just not pressing down hard enough for it, but we'll see. I'm gonna run this through the hone, just using using a strop piece of leather. But I'm psyched about how this turned out. Let me wipe all the arm hair off that it cut. So, first one's down. Quite pleased with it. I think it did a very nice job. Set this aside. And let's see here. What should I work on next? I think I'm going to work on... I'm going to do a little paring knife. This is just a paring knife that I use in my kitchen. Actually, no, I use these knives a lot. So this is probably my favorite knife that I use in the kitchen. It's not a chef's knife, but I don't know, I prefer this style of knife. I cut a lot of vegetables and stuff, so this works out pretty well. So we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna set this knife to the side and get this hooked up. After I get done with this one, I'm gonna work on at least one of the knives that I kind of set out to do this for. I'm so psyched to have this knife sharp. I'm gonna be quite pleased about it because this is dull. I've noticed it being dull as I've been cooking. Let's see how this jig does for a regular kitchen knife. So, because it's a kitchen knife, we need to change angles. So I'm just gonna first off try and see. Oh god, what? That's just so fine. I'm gonna set it right now to 17 degrees. And then we're just going to try and see what this looks like. I'll change scales here in a second, but I don't want to. Yeah, that seems about right. So that can't move very well. All right. I'll swap out scales here. I'm glad that these are labeled on the back because after a while they become kind of just like impossible to see on the front what it is. They give it a nice label on the back there. There. Check on thing. Cool. All right. This is the scale that sounds the most awful, so heads up. Put that on there. Oh, I'm so excited that this is going to be sharp again. Man. This is at 17 degrees. Even a little grating to my ears. Let's see what it sounds like through the microphone. I like that this can go all the way down here. I've tried to sharpen this on a grinder, like a jig for a grinder, and I didn't really care for it as much because you couldn't really get it close enough to the edges there because of the grinding wheel in the way. Looks like we actually have that's a pretty sizable burr on the tip of that. I'm gonna file that down. Time to flip. Oil. Oh, that sound. It's rough. Probably because there's a burr on this side from me filing down the other side. Since I have that burr down, that's thankfully not so bad. But still, this 400 or 180 grit is rough. Rough to listen to. I'm not yet feeling a burr on the other side, so I need to keep going here. Glad I'm getting this practice. As long as I stay at this angle for this whole knife, then I'm good. Oops. Ready for the next one. Let's flip it back over. Oops. Okay. Next scale. Going from 400 to 800 here. And this knife, I might actually go all the way up to, I'll do some sharpening at the 2000 level. feel like I'm starting to get the hang of this thing. Like this tune. I think I'm going to make a jig pretty soon where I'm basically going to model it after this, but I'm going to build it to hang on to hatchets and things, because I do have to sharpen those. Those don't need to be quite so like razor sharp, but it still would be fun to be able to use some of the scales and kind of the same concept as I'm used to it. Maybe I'll make another one for chisels, but chisels are a whole nother deal. Just have to look really closely here. I need my jeweler's loop here. Actually, but I have a magnifying glass right in front of me. Let's take a little closer look at that. Hard for the camera to spot it. I was going to show you. That looks about right. There's just like a nick in this blade, actually. Hopefully I'm not grinding it too unevenly. It's kind of the whole point of practicing this, though, is because I could be focusing too much on one spot. And it's important to, I'm flipping it over after every time, because of the whole burr issue. So as I sharpen one side, I create a burr on the opposite side that I then need to clear before I can proceed. Music's kind of intense, huh? I do like it though. Thing's dry as hell. Should help a little bit. Hopefully the lighter oil doesn't cause any problems, but I think I'm gonna have to grease that at some point. Some like automotive grease. Smooth it out a little bit. Check on a thing here. Groovy, okay. Oh geez, don't want to do that. Gonna mess up my edge. pretty slick. Okay, flip it. It is a lot safer to use sharp kitchen knives, but the key with it is that you don't want to get used to dull knives and then pick up a sharp knife. So anytime you pick up a kitchen knife, just be really ginger with it, because you don't know when someone has just decided to sharpen it for some reason. If you're too used to a really dull knife, you might put too much force behind it and injure yourself. I've done that a couple times. I don't like how dark this is, because this being this dark means that there's a lot of material getting kind of shaved off as I do this, so I'm really going to try and get a little bit more oil. There's some grease in this bearing, but they didn't get it in the actual hole here, so we'll see if that helps. So we're at 2,000 grit here. And that doesn't feel like it helps a lot. Maybe there's just particulate in there. That sounds really dry too. We are actually just straight up using this 2,000 grit. We're not just using it to take the burr off. We'll do that with a 3,000. But all right. Oh, this is starting to really feel smooth. Get out of your mouse. I don't want you to get oil on you. Yeah, this is starting to really feel polished now. Pretty excited to use this. Do one more. Actually, just gonna deburr with this 2,000 here. The lightest pressure on this. We still got a burr on the other side. So I think I'm going to call this one done. here. 8:07 already. Take a break, drink some water. All right. It's looking pretty good. If you can see it a little better from this way. I don't even think the camera will pick that up. Not that there's that much to see. Let's try one more thing. Let's see if we can get it in here. Maybe you can see the edge. I think that's just a nice clean edge on that. It is extremely sharp. You can feel a little bit of a burr, but I think we're just gonna call it because it's still very sharp. We also had a big burr along the top up here that was causing some issues. So I'm glad I got that taken care of. All right. Make sure not to put your nice knives in the dishwasher, especially on the heat dry setting, because the heat will actually destroy the temper on the blade. Cause some issues for you there. Yeah, I'm impressed with that. That's good. I don't have any paper to do any demos with. I can try some of this. Actually is shaving my skin. That's cool. It's actually shaving my hair. That's great. It's sharp. Who would have thought? All right, 2 down. Let's take a drink of water. Hey. You're right, knives aren't appropriate scratching tools. Hey, not Nikrogi. How you doing tonight? Man, I'm thirsty. Thanks. Yeah, it's my my Michael Jackson impersonation. I don't know which hand he's supposed to have on there. Am I in Adam's cabin? No, this is my video studio. This is like my setup that I typically do all my stuff in. So we've got a whole assortment of things that we're sharpening today. So it's like, this is a bayonet that someone asked me to sharpen for them. I think I might, we'll see if this even fits. This is my favorite cooking knife. I got this a couple months ago. And it's hilarious. It's a big cleaver. My wife asked me not to put it on the magnet rack that we have all of our other knives to, because one time she bumped it and it fell off and it stuck into the linoleum because it's so heavy, and I think it would be problematic for toes and things. So can't say I blame her. This being so far out, we'll probably change the angle of this. So that's too much thinking right now. I don't want to deal with the protractor, so I'm gonna focus on another knife instead. We're gonna do 811. Let's try and get one of these knives done. Yeah, this glove is a slice-proof glove, so that I don't cut myself nearly so easily. I only have one of them, which is probably not good. So this is a hunting knife. So the recommended bevel for a hunting knife, and as I look at this, it's really quite rounded. It's kind of like the bevel on it is kind of like this, as opposed to like a single bevel. That's probably because this has been sharpened by hand for many, many years. So it's not going to have the best edge. It's not going to hold the edge very well. So I'm going to basically, I'm going to be rehoning it to have a new consistent bevel. I'm not going to do anything about the serration on the back. That's not really going to be super necessary, but so I don't know if you're able to tell from there, but it's kind of a gradual. See the light hitting, kind of hits it a little bit gradually, versus like I think this knife, there's going to be a point. Let me see it this way. So see how that's like really bright just on that edge? That's because that's just like a flat bevel there. So this knife would be a lot easier to sharpen than this one, because I'm going to have to basically recreate that flat edge so it doesn't just like round out. We're going to get started. Open this up. So the story of this knife is that, like I said at the beginning of the stream, that it's actually my sister-in-law contacted me and asked me to restore this knife. She had a family member pass away, and this was one of their knives. And she wanted me to restore it for her. Yeah, right? She wanted me to restore it for her so that she could give it to her dad. So I'm going to do this one first. This other knife from her that she asked me to restore is a bayonet, and it's got just a single bevel, which means that it's completely flat on one side like a chisel. I'm going to do this one second because this one is, honestly, it's probably going to be a little harder to do a really good job. This one's, I have so much work to do anyway just to grind it, just to get a new bevel on it, that it should be done pretty well. That one already has a bevel, and I'm going to have to basically like guess at the angle, which won't be very easy. So I'm going to Forged in Fire, Deddington Edition. That's right. So we're gonna do, we could do 30 is recommended for hunting knives, but there's I don't know, it's some conflicting information basically, but like, just gonna look it up one more time. I could do 25 degrees, could be another good route. Just taking another gander at this. There's so much conflicting information, everybody. My God. We're gonna go with the Lansky sharpening angles. So we're gonna do 25 degrees. So this stream ends at 9, but I'm thinking maybe I might play some of the Long Dark afterwards. There's a chance. We'll see how I feel after this. I'm gonna go back to our friend 180 grit. Let's start back there. Oil. This is, oop, that's too much oil. This is the one, and I apologize for this. This is the one that sounds the worst, because it is the most abrasive. So it's gonna be pretty, recommend if it bothers you to maybe mute this and maybe put on some like lo-fi hip hop or something else. If that would have been sharp, I would have just cut myself. But thankfully, it's not, so I didn't. Alright, so we're gonna start working on this. We're at 25 degrees. I'm just gonna eyeball this, make sure that this looks about right. I hope I'm not screwing this up. Yeah, this looks about right. So this metal is really soft. This is not super well hardened. It's like really chewing, my scale is really chewing into it pretty well. I mean, it makes sense it being 180 grit, but still I'm a little surprised how quickly this is starting to make an edge. When you get to this tip like this, it's quite difficult actually to keep the jig at the right level, the right angle. Right. How does this look? I'm getting, you want to feel on the underside or burr. It tells you that you've reached the center of it, at least. So we're gonna flip it over and go to the other side. This little knob is getting harder and harder to turn as my hands get slipperier from the mineral oil. Slipperier? I don't know if that's a thing. More slippery. This could be a problem. It's a little screw. I don't know what the screw is doing. I think it's just meant to be a lock for this. It's starting to get a little loose. Might have to fix that in a little bit. It's funny, I don't know if you can tell. Hold something like white below it. So if you see right here, I can zoom in. So you look right here. So this is meant to be flat here. This is not sharpened in this spot. But this little knockout right there, it's like a little bit further out than the rest of the blade. This is because when this has been sharpened in the past, they didn't go far enough down towards this mark. So this area is still the depth at which the blade was initially, and the rest of this is just sharpened down a little bit beyond that point. So it's been sharpened quite a bit by hand. Had a lot of material removed, so I got to be cognizant not to like take too much off. But I'm liking this bevel right now. It's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to switch tiles. We're still at 180. I'm going to go down to 400. Scales, I should say, sorry. A friend of mine, Leviathan Fails, I think is her handle, is streaming tonight at 8:30. I don't even know what she's streaming, but I think it's her first time. I'm going to be maybe checking that out afterwards. I'm done with this. I am loving this jig though. This is feeling like I'm really in control of the sharpening process. And everything's locked in really nice. Actually making a pretty good job of this task, fixing up this knife. Oops, don't want to do that. Be careful kind of reaching the edge of this so I don't like pop it off and blunt the edge that I'm trying to sharpen. I'll do one more. I'm going to take off the burr. This metal is soft, super soft. So I'm not convinced that this knife is going to hold a very good edge. I would say it probably needs some retempering, which I am not versed in how to do. I'm just feeling it, and I'm just losing more material than I would expect to as I go through this. So I don't think it's really hardened very well. It is older, and it does have a plastic handle, which means it could be a little bit cheaper. So we'll see. We'll see how it holds. This will be nice to hands it off extremely sharp. You know, maybe all it needs to do is do one hunt, and then they'll send it back for another sharpening. Oh yeah, that's looking good though. Starting to really get that 1 point of reflection. Hey V Kruger. How are you tonight? Not a lot of tip left on this knife. Flip scales. Feels good to get this far down in the grits, or this fine in the grits. Something a lot less loud, a little bit more silky smooth sounding. Getting sharp. So we're up to 2,000 grit now, or it's, yeah, 2,000 grit. You almost don't hear it as much as I'm going through and filing here. Credits, we're not, we didn't sign up for acapella music. Not today, at least. Not that. Gosh, I'm gonna be so embarrassed if my friend, the acapella band bass, is listening. So embarrassed. But it was not 6 appeal, so I had to skip it. You guys are cool. So I'm not going up to 3000 grit because staying at 2000 should preserve what are called micro serrations, which, because this is a hunting knife, there's going to be some slicing kind of stuff happening. The micro serrations should help cut through whatever material they're getting through. This is just so soft. Gonna go with the very lightest pressure. I think I got it. I don't think it's drawing any blood, but I did just punch it with my hand. See, I need 2 of these gloves. This is dumb, only having 1. So I'm gonna use this hand for the thing. It's just easy to forget that you just made something really sharp. Okay. So let's see. See how that does, if we can catch the light the right way. If we zoom in on this, so we can remember what it was like before. This now should have a distinct edge. I can see it, I don't know if you can see it, but it has a distinct edge. Yeah, so that bright part, that's all the same angle. All that bright part. And then if I turn it a little bit more, then there's the other bevel there. That's kind of just the angle that it tapers down to. But this is the actual cutting edge, that bright part right there. So I did at least create a new cutting edge. I'm gonna strap this later with some leather. One thing I did do is I filed down the point a little bit more than I'd like to. The point lost a little bit of its shape, where it's rounded a little bit towards the end, but there's just, the material's really soft and there's not a ton of it. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit later. I'm gonna get some really fine steel wool and I'm just gonna go over it a bit with some steel wool, just to get some of these scratches out. I have some like quadruple 0 steel wool that I think I'll use. And hopefully that'll take care of those scratches. I don't want to like ruin the patina either, because it is nice, like kind of a nice older looking knife. So I'm pretty happy with that though. I think that's satisfactory. I don't know where this knife has been, so I'm not going to do the shaving hairs off with on my arm thing with this one, because I haven't washed it. I guess who cares? See if we can do it. No, not quite. I still got to get this down. Yeah, well, whatever. There's some tiny hairs on it now, so, well, it probably did something. I'm also going to re-stitch this sheath. Is missing a few stitches here, so I'll clean that up a little bit. Maybe I'll put some treatment on the leather for. But yeah, happy to get that done. All right, the next knife. Let's see if we're gonna actually do this one or if I'm gonna chicken out tonight on this particular knife. So this is the bayonet. That was his. That I have been tasked to restore. And let's see if we can get that angle, see if we can have the light pick it up. It's not really picking up the cutting angle very well. It's really close to the other angle, so that's not the cutting angle. We back up a little bit from that before we can see it. Yeah, I'm just not able to get that really. So if you look on this side, this is completely flat. So I can sharpen that like a chisel. So I'm gonna run this on some sandpaper here in just a second, which I think is fine enough sandpaper. And then I'll just do this one bevel. So I'm just gonna have to really eyeball this and see if I can get it to line up flat. So to do this, I have this tool here. So this is a pane of glass. It's got some like rubberized stuff on the bottom, so I can set it on the desktop and it won't move around. And I've just double-sided taped some sandpaper to it. So we have 2000 grit and 2500 grit on this back, and I'm hoping that I don't just scratch it. There's also like sawdust and crap on here. So we're gonna add some mineral oil to this. This will keep any extra debris out. We're just going to, I'm actually gonna see if I can do it on like a sneaky spot first and see if it does anything. It should be fine. Rub this oil around. Should have put this closer to the edge of the glass, but we'll see how well we can do it. We can get pretty close to the rest of that edge. Might actually. I wonder if I can just move it. Come on, sticky tape. Nope, that's not gonna work. So the glass keeps this perfectly flat. I'm gonna have to do this again a little bit later after I get some that actually goes all the way here. I'm pressing down to make sure it's flat. A lot of good sounds. Oh, am I not? I'm not really in frame too much. Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. The 180 grit, it's pretty loud. But this is good. So this, you know, for this knife to be sharp, it might just need that flat edge being cleaned up. Yeah, already that looks good. I didn't leave too many scratch marks or anything like that. I'm gonna, I didn't put these sandpaper close enough to the edge, so I can't really do a great job right now. So I'm gonna set this aside and I'll do this off camera a little bit later. I'm gonna try to estimate the bevel on this one though, and see if we can get it relatively close to hone this edge. I just don't even know if it really needs it. Oh, I know what happened. Why I can't see that in the light. So I don't think this has ever been sharpened. This edge on this bayonet is actually, it's actually black. I had to look a little bit closer, but it's actually not. It's not reflecting the light because it is black, actually. I don't know if that's a treatment of the steel or what the deal is, but I'm gonna add that. So it looks perfectly flat. I don't think it's a... I'm really hoping is that it's not a hollow ground edge, which would mean that it's... Gosh, you know, it might be... So a hollow ground edge is basically like this, right? So like a regular edge, so say this is like the center of the blade, this is the bevel, this is like a regular bevel, but a hollow ground is going to be like this. Not that extreme, but like it's going to be like bent like that in, so that would make the sharpening that I would do kind of wreck it. So this one might actually, I think this is hollow ground. It's really hard to tell without just like knowing ahead of time. So I'm going to try and see if I can tell from here. That would make sense why it's not. Yeah, I think it is. That would make sense as to why this is dark and not shiny, because no one's sharpened it this way, because that would wreck it. So of course no one would do that. So the way to sharpen this, I think, is going to be, I'm going to spend some more time putting together my little plate, and I'm going to just flatten that other side, flatten the flat side as good as I can, and that's going to do plenty for getting this knife sharp. So even, yeah, some of the stuff I did, I do see some scratches from me, but I'm going to kind of go up the ladder. I'm going to go up to like, again, like 3000 grit or something like that with this one. Just because then I can just work on that flat side and that'll work out just fine. So I'm going to work on another knife of mine. Let's see here. So a couple options. I have this Kershaw knife here that I could work on. This is the Kershaw Skyline. This is a gas station knife. These are both just pocket knives I like to keep just with me in the truck. I don't really carry them at all, but they're nice to have good knives. I mean, my own like pocket knife that I carry is just a utility knife, so it's always sharp, very sharp. So I don't really carry any knives like this with me. But other one I might want to do is this, just this paring knife might be nice to have sharpened. So I think I might do, it might be entertaining to have a sharp paring knife again. I haven't had a sharp paring knife in ages. So we're gonna do that. Let me get that locked in place. Only got about 15 minutes left of this stream, so it'll be good to just get a small knife done. So some of what I was reading about knife angles is that paring knives you want to have even more ridiculously. So this is 17 here. I'm just going to take a look at this, what this looks like. If that's remotely. I can see where I've sharpened it and not done a good job at keeping things consistent because I didn't have a fancy ass jig. I'm gonna go a little lower actually. I'm gonna go a little bit more shallow than 17. So this is the limit of the jig right now. This is as low as the jig can go. And even that is... We'll try that. We're gonna max it out. Maxing out the jig. Make sure I don't get caught in any components of the jig and grind those down. Boy, it's close, but I think it's gonna be alright. Okay. Taking this sucker down. Okay. And if you're watching and you have, and you're local and know me personally, I would be happy if you had a couple knives you'd like me to sharpen. I'd be happy to do that. If you have anything you want me to get honed in, we'll see. I'm excited to test this stuff out and see if I did a good job or not. I'm actually cooking and stuff, I'll be able to tell pretty well. In fact, I think that one kitchen knife I already sharpened has a date with a potato pretty soon here. A date with it? That's not a good thing to talk about it being a date. It's kind of creepy, Halloween-esque type thing. It has an appointment. That's better. Has a job with a potato soon. That's better. Ooh, that noise. This is a lot better for these knives than doing this on a wheel or kind of sanding, because we don't have to worry really at all about overheating anything, which is just awful for these knives. I'm trying to see. I'm definitely doing this slightly more shallow than this knife originally was. That's okay. Okay. We've got a new bevel now. Let's flip her. Do the same on the other side. Oh, I'm running into problems. Crap. So the bolt on this side sticks up too high. Dang it anyhow. So we're gonna have to change my angle until I don't hit the bolt, and then we'll have to redo the other side. Shoot. That's okay. It's a slight variation. Hopefully I don't take off too much material. This knife was like probably $4, so ain't that big of a deal. Oh, that's looking nice. Let's redo this side. We want everything to be nice and consistent. This slight change shouldn't cause too much of a problem here. So it's German steel, it says, but it's made in Brazil. Like assembled in Brazil. Just trying to see the angle correctly. Oh, gotta flip it. Yeah, so I'm digging this jig. I think this jig is going to work out pretty well for a while. And it's nice to have it, because then I can base other things off of it. I can make my own jigs and for different types of things. Use this for sharpening chisels maybe, or sharpening hatchets. That's not good to do that, right? There's so much mineral oil that like leaked from the bottle onto my little side table here. We're going to use some of that. Wipe some more on the knife. So my next scheduled stream is Sunday night. I'm going to be working on, this will be my second day working on the SparkFun Inventors Kit. Oh geez, still having problems. Again, the SparkFun Inventors Kit. I wonder if this is like pushed in or something. It should be quite a bit of fun. I had a really nice time working on that this last Sunday. It wasn't too bad. I thought it was going to be scary hard, but it actually was really fairly good time working on it. So doing that again this Sunday, and then I'm doing Long Dark Monday, Tuesday. However, I might sneak in some more Long Dark tomorrow, possibly, if I'm feeling like the mood strikes me. I'm going to try and do more of these maker streams, because I do a lot of making. And it'd be nice to share some of that. My project last night, something I worked on last night, not on stream, is I made this hatchet sheath for my hatchet here. I made this leather sheath. We're going to get mineral oil on it, that's okay. Made this sheath last night, turned out really nice. It's like not my best work, but you know, it does the job really well, and I got to reacquaint myself with going through several layers of leather with my machine, so that was good. Nice time. We're up to 1500 grit right now. think this scale is going to deteriorate pretty fast because it seems like it really does get chewed into quite a bit as I go through on these knives. One thing I'm noticing is these small screws here that act as spacers for the clamp for keeping the knife up against after I flip it. Those are loosening really bad, so I'm gonna have to put some thread lock on those. Oopsie daisy. That is a lot of oil. Dang it anyhow. It's way too much. About done with this knife already. This one didn't take long at all. Being so small really does help out. Make it speed along. Just feeling for burr. I think if I need to do this again. I do. This ends up getting kind of messy. I'm just going to put the barest amount of pressure in here. This one's done. Tighten that. Loosen this. I don't think it took away too much material at all. It looks pretty sharp. It looks pretty nice. It's a very shallow angle, but this does seem to have, oh boy, that's nice. I think I might still need to strop it, but oh yeah, that's working to shave that. Cool. Well, everybody, I think that's about it for me. We're at 9:02. My glove here is filthy. Looks like I haven't managed to rub any dirty oil on my face yet though, which is good. But it was fun. It's good to use this tool now. I feel like I really have a good handle on how to use this sharpening stone system. I have a couple more. Let's see how many knives I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more knives here. So I'm probably going to do this again, maybe in a week or so. Kind of do the rest of the knives as I have the energy. It does take a long time to do this, so kind of keep that in mind if you're thinking about doing this kind of thing. Once again, if you do have a knife though that you want me to take a look at and do some honing on, be happy to do so. All right, I'm going to sign off. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time.